Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode, it's been a long night. Welcome to this week's edition of the Nick Sands Presents podcast with my man, creator of the Warriors of the Universe, Chance Priest. We got Papa Priest in the house. How you doing today?
Hey, pretty good, man.
So I'm just gonna do a quick ad read for our sponsor because they pay to keep the lights on for us, and I appreciate them a lot. Are you tired of dealing with grumpy mortgage lenders who make the process of getting a home loan feel like a root canal? Well, look no further. Empire Mortgage is the cure for your lending woes. Michelle and her team have the perfect mix of positive attitude, great personality, and industry knowledge. That's right, they've got the know-how to make sure you get the mortgage that's right for you. I can personally attest to the warm family environment Michelle brings to her business. Working with her is a real pleasure and makes you feel comfortable and confident in the loan you get. Call them today and discover what sets them apart from the rest. Your new home will thank you. Hey, what's up, Chris? So just some quick legal numbers I have to read because in New Hampshire you need all kinds of license numbers. So NMLS 1929987, licensed by the state of New Hampshire 23340 MBR, personal license number 148215, equal housing opportunity. All right, that's it. That's the end of the ad, Chance. That was it. That was impressive. I didn't breathe one time. I don't know if you noticed. So you're coming in all the way from the beautiful giant state of Texas.
Yep.
And I've actually been trying to think about how to describe exactly what you do for the last week or so. And the only thing I can come up with is like fantasy world builder.
Yeah. That I like
I've
that.
heard
I'm a godlike character to all my little figures in my
really,
mind.
I mean, I feel like there's not a lot of people who have done what you do because I know that what Chance does is he makes toys, right? And I've heard the word bootleg thrown around a lot, but I don't feel like bootleg doesn't feel right for me, because
Well, bootleg is a good way to get people that collect like Warriors, Masters of the Universe type stuff over to me, like to find me. And so usually if you say like it's a WOTU bootleg, people come over and like, oh yeah. Now what's funny is I have a division of what we do called Universe of the Warriors, which is backwards. And that is bootleg. I actually bootleg my own toys. So I bootleg myself and I bootleg Masters, I bootleg Star Wars, I bootleg all that stuff. But when I do change it a lot, so where it's something totally different, but you know the character, but my Warriors of the Universe are my brain, my creations, my stories. It's just, and then I just do it all, like from scratch.
So what was I feel like anyone jumping in here, they may not or anyone who doesn't know, what exactly is the Warriors of the Masters of the Universe? Look at me, holy shit! Don't sue me, WB. Or Mattel. What exactly is the Warriors of the Universe, and where did it kind of come from?
Okay, so I didn't have that name for a long time. I worked on my own stories, and they all revolved around a character called Eagle 8, and everything was like in the Eagle 8 universe. And I'm trying to make a long story short, but
we got lots of time.
Okay, so I started making different types. Like I was, like go way back to like 2008, and that's when I first started coming up with all these ideas and drawing. And my kids were small, and they would jump on board, and they were all really creative and had really good. They actually were all just natural born artists, so they could sit down and they could flesh out characters, and we worked together, and it was a fun deal. And as I started building on this universe, it all spawned from a dream I had, and it's crazy because I was I had like 5 businesses going, very successful, you know, and I had this crazy dream. Now, don't get me wrong, I collected toys, I collected comic books, I collected a lot of stuff, but I had this crazy dream, and I woke up at like 3 a.m. I drew it. I wrote down what I could remember, and from that dream, I got up the next day, and I was obsessed with the thought of fleshing out this character and this story. Well, after I did the story, I said, well, golly, my mind just kept rolling, and I was like, it's almost like people like I got hit by a bolt of lightning and everything changed, and that's the way it was. Everything changed, and so I just kept coming up with all these stories, and before I knew it, I was filling up pads like I couldn't hardly work like my daily work. All of my mind was just going nuts, thinking about these characters, these stories, and all I could think is like man, I need to get comics made, I need to get toys made. And it's gonna laugh. Everybody laughs, but I was like, but I'm no artist, you know. I can draw okay, and I can paint okay, you know. I was a wannabe artist, you know. And I was like, and I've never sculpted in my life, so I can't do that. And I said, so I got to find an artist, I got to find a sculptor, I got to find all this stuff. And so I kind of went on that deal. And I was not on. I mean, I wasn't on any kind of social media to 2017. So like I mean, like I never even turned it on, you know, other than go to eBay and buy junk or go to some website and buy junk. I didn't even, what's funny, I didn't even know there was like collectors groups on Facebook. That's how like it, I mean, I'm serious. I just didn't get on it. I like didn't want nothing to do with the internet, but so I'm figuring all this out like from scratch, like I'm a caveman, you know, and I'm asking people, hey, do you know anybody that can sculpt? Hey, do you know, like not knowing that there's this giant body of people that do, which it's a good thing that these people, you know, I didn't find Facebook or nothing like that, you know, or Instagram a long time ago. So, man, I went from like dealing with wannabe comic book artists to wannabe sculptors, and everybody was a failure. Like they go like, oh man, I'm totally down. This is going to be awesome. Your stories are great. Your characters are great. And then I would give them all the stuff. They try to work on it. They come back like, yeah, man, I just don't have any time. You know, they're just wannabes, you know, like couldn't do it. And I was like, damn. And it just kept happening for years, but I kept building all this stuff up. And finally I was like, probably like 2011 or so, 2010 or something like that. I said, you know, screw it, man. I'm just going to start sculpting some stuff. You know, I'm going to just try. And so I tried, and like right off the bat, I could sculpt. I was like, okay, this looks actually good. Like, and of course you think to yourself, like, I'd buy that, but you're like, okay, that's my own stuff. So I always try to like step out and look in and go like, yeah, that's good. You know, like that's good. And if it sucked, I just like, yeah, that one's in the crap pile, you know. And same with my drawing, you know, which, I mean, a lot of people still say I can't draw for shit, but I said, hey, you know, I said the best compliment I get is when somebody new to our group or new to me, they go, okay, what is this shit? It looks like a 10-year-old drew that. And I was like, man, I hit, that's nail on the head
that's
for me,
my
man.
niche.
That's what I'm going for, you know? Yeah. I'm like, you have no idea how much that
Well, I
meant
mean,
to me.
you're probably, realistically, this is not an exaggeration. I feel like you're really living a dream that most people, you know, never get to see.
What?
I feel like all of us, we all have these stories in our heads that, you know, that we tell ourselves, and you know, we all had an imagination at one time. We may not have it anymore, but you know, we all had an imagination.
Real life sucks it out of you. You know, I mean, it does. It just, you know, I was in law enforcement for a long time, and nothing will suck out your imagination like law enforcement. I mean, you know, it's just like you're dealing with all this this heavy reality. You know, this you know, it's like grim shit every day, and you're like, man, dude, I just want to be in, and that's actually was a big help for me, because I was like, I want to be in fantasy land. So I would go home and buy toys and collect toys and you know, and collect comic books and read them, and of course watch tons of movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And it's like it really helped take, because I was involved in a lot of heavy stuff. You know, I was a SWAT team captain and
in Texas.
I did a
fucking
lot of
SWAT team captain in Texas, so that's not a fucking easy gig.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was also a lot of people don't understand this, but I was local, I was state, but I was also federal at a certain time period. I joined the U.S. Border Patrol, and so I was down on the border, and I did all that, and that's super heavy. I mean, grueling work. And I loved it, but I mean, you need a relief valve. I mean, I used to a lot of the guys at work, they didn't have any relief valve, and they were going nuts. And I was like, man, get into some fantasy. Oh, I'm not into that shit. I was like, well, I can't help you. I don't know what to tell you, man. But yeah, so that was a really, really big deal with me. And don't get me wrong, like going back to high school, I wanted, like my best friend and I, we used to talk about, like, because we were working on a comic book together. And of course, he's the one that could draw, and I wrote all the stories and made up all the characters and stuff. And we were like, dude, we're gonna have toys made. We're gonna do this, and that was in the '80s. So it was Ninja Turtles were like the biggest thing, And so we're like, and we had a story that's similar to Ninja Turtles. We were like, oh man, we're gonna kill this thing, But we wanted to keep it like violent, like the original Eastman and Laird Turtles, and not go with that like kiddie route like they did with all the cartoons and shit. But so yeah, so I mean, it's like been on my agenda for like ever to do something like this, and like I say, I just slow build, because after a while, I mean, my career changed. I went from being in law enforcement, all that stuff. I really wanted to change all that, and I opened up a big antique shop, and I got that going, and I moved. I moved. Well, there's a huge story behind it, where it's crazy. I mean, it's so nuts. Like I just went over the story with AAA. He's the guy that he paints for us. He's like family. He's like my brother or something, or my I don't even want to say it, but but he's here all the time, and we talk about stuff. I said, dude, I said, let's put it this way. I was like a big shot on a police force, okay, in charge of like 3 different units, doing the SWAT team, doing all this other stuff, and like overnight, a higher up, everything's political, I mean, any job's political, right? Like, so there's all these internal politics, and I ran into a situation where a lieutenant, who was very high up, just didn't like me, right? He just hated. He thought I was a hot shot, show off, whatever. I was like, and I explained it to him. I said, I just want to go out and do my job as good as I can. I don't want to show off. I just want to do my job and do the best I can. That wasn't good enough for him. So he was always really pushing me a lot. And he was trying to get me fired, trying to shove me out, And then I had a brutal fight with a guy. Like the guy almost murdered his 80-year-old mother, beat her half to death. When me and my partner showed up, he actually hit my partner in the head and busted his head open and dropped him. I thought he was dead, And then him and I get into it, and I thought I was gonna die. And then anyway, the guy ended up paralyzed. Okay. Brutal fight, took forever. I mean, I was bit on the collarbone, busted all up, Yeah, he tore my gun off my belt. That's how strong this big mother was. I mean, tore my gun off my belt, while it was in the holster. I mean, crazy stuff, So it was like right after that, I thought, here I am.
You should make him a character in your
fucking.
You should make him a fucking warrior of the universe.
Well, he was a monster dude, he was, I mean, he was towered over me, big broad guy. I've been in the pen a bunch, so he worked out all this, but of course he bit the shit out of me. He had AIDS, and I didn't get it.
Luckily.
But he had AIDS. I mean, so I had to worry about that for like years. I had to be tested for that. And then the worst part though is he comes off and this citizens group or whatever, they're a political group, really. They came after me and they're like, oh, this guy's he's a racist. That's what, anybody that don't like you, they just like, what can we call it? Oh, racist. That's what we'll call him, So they racist. And they had these like pickets and shit out in front of the police department. I was like, oh my God, I'm not racist. This is nuts. I mean, everybody that knows me will tell you I'm not, I mean, like, it's just insane. And but the higher ups, they told me, they said, hey, this is the way it works. I mean, when it's in the paper and it's all stuff, it's so, you can imagine like stress level. I got little kids, and this is my business.
You had
and
just been
it's all
just been bitten by a giant with AIDS, which is just like not a problem most people have to deal with.
By the way, he had been out of the penitentiary for less than 6 months. He had been in there for 5 years for shooting another cop in my same department through the arm.
Holy shit.
So they gave him 5 whole years, and he was out. But so I mean, yeah, it's like he's not a good guy, okay? And he was high on PCP soaked marijuana, so he was like really impervious to everything I did. And I'm not gonna, I mean, I tried to kill the guy, it didn't work. So he wound up paralyzed, and this whole lawsuit deal. So then the state came down and did this big investigation of me, and it was just like, I mean, I just there's times in your life, and I know everybody's been there. You're like, dude, this is like, and I'm a real positive person, very hard to get me down, but I was like, okay, I'm at like reaching my levels here, and this lieutenant that didn't like me, he came to me and he said, hey, you should quit. You should quit, because this is looking bad for you. And I said, well, I'm not going to quit no matter what until this is all hashed out. And I said, when it's all hashed out, I quit. So the state came in, investigated for 3 months. All this shit went down. And when it all came out, they said, you're right. You're not racist. You're good. I got a medal. I got Officer of the Year. Okay, all this stuff. They're like, oh, and then the whole town was like, yeah, he's a great guy. I was like, yeah, well, I quit. So I stuck to my guns and I said, I quit. So I quit with about $300 to my name, wife, 2 little kids. And, but I had a building that at the time belonged to my mom, and she wasn't using it. It used to be a restaurant my family owned years ago. And I said, hey, can I use that building for something? I got an idea. And, I explained to her the situation, and she's like, yeah, do whatever you need to do. And so I put an ad in the paper. Actually, I prayed all day and all night. Like, God help me. I don't really know which way to go. And it came to me again, like in a dream. It said, open it.
Sorry to interrupt you, but at this point, had you already been started building like this collection of stories and stuff? No. Okay.
So, no. I had a dream, said open an antique mall. and so I like I said, I called my mom. She said, yeah, you can use the building. I put an ad in the paper. We filled up, I think, 52 booths at $100 a booth that weekend. And that was it. And then I was like in the antique business. So, so I went through that, and then while we were in the antique business, that's when I started getting involved in the stories, because that was 2008 when I really had like my big revelation, my big dream that was like, man, that got me going on all the stories, and I said, all I really want to do is make comic books. I want to make movies, and I want to make toys, and that's all I want to mess. I don't want to mess with nothing else, but I know I'm not in that position. And I had an opportunity to move 7 hours away, still in Texas, of course, because Texas is huge. But I moved from South Texas to Northeast Texas, and we put in another antique shop. We sold our stuff down there, put in another antique shop, and then it gave me the time though at night to really work on the stories and the drawings and the paintings and all that stuff like that. And that's when I started making like my first toys. And I said, and I taught myself again, it never dawned on my dumb ass to look at YouTube or anything else. Like, I didn't even know that stuff was on there. Like, you could have there's a how-to video. And I know now it's like, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Oh, if you want to know how to do something, just go to YouTube, but I didn't know. I thought, nobody will be, nobody does that. There's no toy makers. There's no, I didn't even know the whole scene was out there, And so I taught myself how to sculpt, mold, and cast And luckily, I was asking the wrong people because I was asking some people in the automotive industry, and they turned me on to the kind of plastic that I use and the kind of silicones that I use and everything else like that. So I could actually, it laid the groundwork for being able to do as many as we do, like not like I can do bigger runs. I can do bigger figures, stronger figures. It's not like a chippy little old resin that you would use like in a hobby shop resin. It's like a heavy duty stuff. So that I always say everything has a meaning, man. Everything, the worst times end up being the best things that could happen to you. I really feel like that. And it didn't take long. I mean, shit, I made this stuff nonstop for years and built up a bunch of it. And then it wasn't till like, I didn't even put anything for sale till like 2018 is the first time I ever said, okay, finally I had, we had hundreds of toys. I had a damn warehouse leased and I was I had a toy factory, and basically I was selling comic books, like old. I had a badass comic book collection that was mainly Golden Age, and I was selling Golden Age comic books, and it was affording me the time and everything I needed to build all these things. And everybody kept telling me in the family, my like, hey, sell those things, sell some stuff. I was like, nah, it's not time yet. It's not time yet. And then when I finally just said, okay, now I guess I'll start, slow boating it and selling some stuff. And the rest is history. It didn't take but like I don't even know if we were selling for a year before I said, I can quit everything I'm doing and just
do you remember
this.
What the first figure or first comic or whatever you sold was?
The first figure, no, I don't. I mean, it's gonna be.
That was either gonna be a great story or no story, so I figured I'd go for it.
Yeah, no, I just I put some stuff on Facebook. I think it was. I think I just because I was posting a lot of pictures, right? And then I said, well, this time I'll post some pictures and I'll just say these are, $25 a piece or whatever, or $35 a piece. And then I couldn't believe it because like right off the bat, like 2 or 3 guys were like, yeah, I'll buy that. Well, AAA, Aaron Arthur Anderson, who works for us, who's, like I say, he's not, I don't even consider him employee. I consider him a partner, a family, whatever. Anyway, he bought like 3 right off, 3 or 6 or something. He bought a bunch of them right off the bat. And I was like, man, this guy's hot to try, and I wasn't even a painter.
Did you have all the stories and all like the backstory, everything like out already, or was these just cool figures that people saw?
Yeah, just people were like, "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool." And I was making them in a very knockoffy style to start with. I had 2 different types of figures. I had Zappies, which look like folk art. Okay, they're like square bodies with sculpted heads. So they look like a wooden body, like folk art, but with a sculpted head. And those are like, they were really just maquettes that I made up because I was like, this is a simple way to sculpt the different characters' heads and get just an idea of the way they look. And my kids were the first ones that said, Dad, those figures are awesome, man. They have movable arms and they look wooden. They look weird, And I was like, man, no, I can't show nobody that because, that's just like a tester deal, No, those are great. Keep doing those. Keep painting those. I was like, okay. So that's the way those turned out. And then when I went to the Warriors of the Universe figures, I used a body of a Galaxy hero, and I did some manipulation to it, some over sculpting. I made a cast of a mold of that, casted some of those, and then I do different heads and did mainly just recasts of stuff. And I was doing what everybody else was doing. And there's a guy on there, Luke Walker, Toy Walker, Underworld Muscle. I was watching him. I said, man, this guy's like selling these knockoff MOTU figures like crazy. And I said, and it's just, he's got a new art. He's got a little new style to him, new colors or whatever. And he's like putting a little flair to him, and he's from Germany. And I said, dude, I love this guy's stuff. So I bought some of it. And I got it in. Well, actually, at first I tried to buy some of it, but it would sell out so fast. And he'd sell out like 15 figures at a time or 10 figures at a time or whatever. And I said,
I'm just
man,
gonna
he's
I'm just gonna
killing
interrupt
it.
you for 1 second, just so everybody. I
Yeah.
just want everybody to know how real what Chance is doing here is. Anyone who doesn't know what this is, there are people so obsessed with Warriors of the Universe and the figures and Chance and everything that Chance is doing. We have a guy named Baby WOTU in our chat right now. So like
Actually,
calling for Hail Kutu or Kutu.
Kutu.
All hail
Kutu.
Kutu.
Yeah.
So
I should have worn my Kutu
so just
shirt.
just
Yeah.
to be clear, this is something people fuck with. This is not like a small deal. This is like you were saying,
Yeah,
you make your living this way. You have
Yeah.
at this point you must have your
Big
own
buildings.
toy factory. I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
You
yeah.
are
Yeah. No, it's
hand
real.
painting hundreds of fucking original pieces of artwork, basically. Like every action figure.
Every year we make about 1,000+ pieces.
And you hand paint them all?
Every one hand painted. These just got packaged today, right there.
So I just want
100%.
I have a lot of friends in the creative space, musicians, artists, people who do all of those kind of things. And like a lot of people, they feel like, my shit's too weird, my shit's not like there's like I feel like you're really inspirational in the fact that like you fucking did it. Like you're literally your artwork, like something you pulled something out of your brain. You fucking made a toy, and now you have a toy factory, and you fucking hand paint these things, and like your artwork is paying for your living, and like that's the part I think is so cool and so like important to get across. Is I mean everything that you've done is super cool. Your stories are super intricate. Your backstories are incredible. Your character design is great. But like at the end of the day, I think that the coolest thing about you is that you had this idea, and it's definitely not for everybody. But you like have found your audience. You found your audience.
Enough people.
Yeah, you found your audience, and you're a great person to talk to. And like I've been a part of your chats. I've been a part of your stuff. Like you do a great job of talking to your friends and your customers and your friends, and like building a really awesome community. I just think that what you're doing is really special, and I think that if you are an artist, you should go and follow Chance right now and see what he's doing, because what he's doing is a blueprint for how you can take your creativity and translate it into making a living. Like Chance is not so special that he's the only person that can do this.
No, I will say this, okay, and I'm friends with lots of people that try to do this. They want to do this. You have to push yourself like harder than you've like a lot of times people, like when they work for themselves, they say, oh, well, I've worked 9-to-5 jobs. Well, working for yourself, fuck that. It's way more than 9-to-5. I get here at usually right at 9 a.m. I leave at about 9 p.m., sometimes 8 p.m. But and then on a night we do molding or whatever, I'll leave at 10 or 11, And do I do that 5 days a week? Oh boy, hell no. I do it 7 days a week. I do it every single day. Like tomorrow is a day that we're going to take off. We're going to have a big family get together for the Super Bowl. We'll be doing that from 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock, right? Doesn't matter. I will get here at 9 and I will work my ass off from 9 to 1 or 2 or whatever. And because you can't, when you work for yourself, man, you have to put yourself. And luckily, I grew up in a family that my parents owned a restaurant. My parents owned everything. They would have businesses for sometimes less than a year, sometimes, and then they would build that business up, sell it, move on, boom, build that up. And I did the same thing several times in my life. And it's just, you have to give like you got to be all in. And on the art deal, you not only have to be all in with your work ethic, you have to know, you have to have like it's got to be flowing. You got to be vibing. You got to be like, man, like I say, man, it's like I got hit by a gun, thunderbolt from the heavens, and it just, my mind is racing all the time with new ideas. I get them in the shower. I get them, and so I'm always writing stuff down and like, oh my God, I gotta hurry. I gotta go make that, and people go like, man, I thought you were going to work on wave whatever or whatever this week. And then you make this big old monster. And I was like, yeah, because dude, this thing came to me. I had to make it right then and there. And I see these guys that are trying to do this, and I'm not bashing them. But they work on like a single project, and you'll see them for months going like, still trying to get this single figure up and go. Well, fuck that. In a week, you should be done, baby. You should have that sucker made. I don't care if you stay up all night. I don't care if you drink a case of Monsters. I don't care what it takes. Stay up all night, get that sucker done, get it molded, get it out, get your artwork done. You got to push, man. I mean, but you have to love it. Like I know other people that want to do it too, and they see money signs. Well, dude, I've made tons more money than I'm making doing this. I mean, like I tell people all the time. I said, my oldest son makes more than I do, and he runs around and buys antiques and flips them. Mainly old signs. I said, but shit. And I know how to do that, but I don't want to do that. I want to do this, and I think the end game for this is going to be a broader audience, movies, and again, I don't care if I have to use my own money to make movies. It doesn't bother me in the as long as I'm having fun and it's my characters, because I care a lot about my characters. As long as it's me doing what I do and loving it. The day I go, I'm going to make this figure just for money, I quit. I'll quit. I'll be like, okay, I lost the edge there somewhere, So that's the way I look at it, and that's the way I feel like you have to be.
One thing I'm interested in is how does your like character creation process go? Like, how far advanced does a character like have to be before they are introduced into like the actual universe? Do you introduce them and give them backstories after the fact to see who's popular? Like, how does that like kind of play, especially where you already have like this kind of IP built up?
Okay, so in that real like I'm gonna say there was a 4 or 5 year period that was absolutely insane where I fleshed out hundreds and hundreds of characters. Like I couldn't take a piss without like going, oh my, look down and go like, oh man, I've got this.
Mold
this
it, baby, mold
with a big,
it.
long nose, I mean, I'm serious. I was like, everything I looked at, I saw a character, and it's not that I just saw the character. I was like, that character would fit in this story as a bad guy doing this, being like this, and I'll be honest, I wish I was one of those guys like Frank Miller or Alan Moore or something that had this long stretch creativity story going on. I see everything in like movie scenes. So I'll see like what would be a really good 3-minute action scene and with the character that I just started creating in my mind. And then I'll go like, oh my God, he's perfect for that spot, fighting that guy, doing that, killing that person, tearing that head off, whatever. And so I write that down, and then I go back and I draw it. And then after I draw it, then I start like putting like down little notes like, oh man, he's this. And then his backstory, like, oh, he comes from this part of the country or this part of because everything revolves around a big planet called Ortis. And even though there's a lot of moons and there's other galaxies, other worlds and stuff like that, but most stuff's on Ortis, which is like the center of the entire universe. The center of everything is Ortis, and everything came from Ortis originally. But there's these wormholes. They're called Ostidi, and everything comes back to Ortis too. So it's a really fun place because it's ruled by they're called Pluvehas, which are like sub-gods, and everything's like okay, so you'll have this big jungle region that's giant and it's primitive. That's because that sub-god, that Pluveha, he wants it that way. But you have another region that's techno, so you have like crazy techno pyramids and shit like out of Jack Kirby's brain. It's not my fault, man. I grew up on Kirby, so I'm screwed. I can't get away from it. So you'll have that, and you'll be like, well, how can that? These guys are using stone tools over here, but they have freaking basically like ray guns over here. Well, it's easy because that Ploveha in that area, he allows that. He allows technology to grow like that. So these sub gods, they rule everything, and they fight amongst each other too. But that's the way it is, and so that's the way everything's explained. Like, why is that happening over there? Why is that allowed there? You know, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. But I really didn't do it to make sense. It's just when it all shook out, it's like, yeah, man, that makes perfect. That all fits in perfect. You know, now that I actually started it with a painting, and I was like, and my kids were like, well, how does that guy have a ray gun? But those people like have stone tools and spears and arrows and shit like that. And I was like, well, it's real easy, you know, because that guy don't allow it there, you know. And he's like, oh. Then I was like, oh shit, you know, here I go, you know. But I've got
dude,
books and stacks of books and pages.
The way your
and
face lights up when you talk about this is just so amazing. Like
oh man, I'm so into it, dude.
It's so great.
I was trying to burn up a comic page, like because I had an idea for a new comic book, and like right before my auction, I was working so hard trying to flesh out this cover, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Okay, I'm gonna do all this. I do the podcast, all this stuff, and then in the morning, I will hit this shit hard. You know, I will be in here doing it. You know, so yeah, I'm into it, man. I'm serious. That's what I mean. I tell people this. I said, if you create a character, and that character, if you don't have the same feeling in your heart like you have for your kids, then you're not into it. Okay, because that's the way I am. Like people will say something about a character of mine, and I'm cool, dude. I can chill, you know. And I get it. You're just joking, you know. But I'm thinking, motherfucker, you know, in my head, you know, I'm thinking, you know, hey, you know, you're pissing me off, but but I know that everybody, you know, because I'm a jokester. I joke with people and I hit hard, but you know what? You know the old rules. You know, you don't joke about people's kids or their wives. You know, right? But people will say something about my characters, not, you know, like, that's, you know, you're on the. But I do at the same time, I do understand that, you know, not everybody knows how you feel. You know, so you know, it's a big world. Everybody's different.
So I'm not really like. I'll be honest, I'm not really into like action figures. My buddy Matt actually introduced me to what you're doing, and even though I'm not really into like collecting toys or that kind of thing, like there's something in like you know, Baby WOTU and RJ and fucking Adam here, like they're all hyping it up, and it's just like
they're into it.
There's like a energy around it that when you're watching it and you're doing it, it's like you can't not get fucking sucked into it. It's like I can see how people are spending thousands of dollars on these fucking things because they're so. Baby WOTU just said, I have no fucking idea who that is. WOTU is the most interactive toy line out there, from waves, wheels, lick, draw, claims, mail-in, shows, contests. He's like, how can you get bored?
Yeah.
And like.
I do
all of this, it's like, well, it's like a very kind of, you haven't just like, it's like you've taken this piece of the 80s, you know, and like dragged it into the 21st century, or not the 21st, or 21st, I don't fucking know. You've dragged it into the 2000s, you know, and like, it's, because we don't, you know, a lot of shows don't have that kind of like following anymore, right?
Yeah, there's a reason why everything I do, like, I mean, you know, there's secret figures. There's I mean, you like the newest line here. Okay.
This is breaking on the Nick Sands Presents podcast. Breaking news.
When you're with the newest case. Okay. So when you buy a case of these, you get 4 figures, and you get 4 figures that, you know, 3 of the figures you're going to know what you're getting, right? Well, the 4th one is this right here, which is what we call a black clam. So, and I didn't come up with that, actually. A collector, Hector Mesa, said out of the blue, he's like, I'm waiting for my black clam, and I was like, oh, that's too damn good. I actually sent him a gift, and I said, thanks for and so we call them black clams. So you don't know what's in there, okay? You could open it and get like, no matter what you're going to get a one of a kind figure. You're going to have the only one like it. Okay. But you could get a figure that is a chase figure that is super hard to find and super sought after, that only a small handful of people will ever own. There's also what I call a treasure figure that there's only 3 on the planet. In other words, there weren't even prototypes made of it. Just a treasure figure. So if you get one of those, I've actually never seen one of those on the resale market, so I don't know. I know that I've seen the chase figures for the other waves, like the WOTU. I've seen it bring above $2,000 several times. Okay, so I mean, of course, I got $50, so I didn't feel that part, but it does my heart good to see that people love it that much, because I love it more than that. And I always tell people, I think in the long run they're going to be worth a lot more than that, because these are the closest you'll ever get to, like, if you wanted to collect art, but you're like, man, I love art, but I love toys. That's it. I joined them. This is a piece of one of a kind art, but it's a toy. So I call them toy art figures, art toys, whatever you want to damn call it. But and I don't know of anybody, like, I really don't know of anybody that has like their own comics, their own characters, their own toys, where they make everything in-house, paint in-house, everything's hand done, and everything's, looks like as good a quality as you could possibly get, So, and if there is, I mean, who are they? I don't know. And I'm not trying to be the only guy. I'm just saying that to me, it's really important that that I've created this whole thing, and I have control over it. That I'm not subletting it out to China or something. Like so many guys that want to make a figure or make a toy or whatever, they send it off somewhere else and have it made, and it's out of their hands, or the control of the sculpt is out of their hands, or it's not exactly the way they wanted it to look, or I mean, that figure right there is not only straight out of my mind, dude. I mean, I grab chunks of clay and just start sculpting, with a tool, and then I mold it myself, and I can't. And now I used to have some. I've had different employees, or my sons or whatever, who worked for us that casted everything. Now I cast, never do it. I'm doing it all right now, because my sons have their own business. That's what happens when your kids grow up. You don't have slaves.
God damn it. See, well, I got I got 2 little ones now, so I got like 14 years before they're not slaves anymore. God. So I gotta just work them hard. That's the lesson I'm taking out of this, is to work your kids as hard as possible until they turn 18.
I'll be honest. They'll thank you for it. I've got 3 adult sons, and they all have their own businesses and all make huge money. And I don't mean like, oh, they make $100,000 a year. I mean, they make huge money because they're driven, and I they watched me and how I'm driven at stuff. And granted, I wasn't maybe as driven for money as I was for just because it's like what I wanted to do. But that's what I did.
Do you have a favorite character that you've made over the years?
Wow. I mean, I'm going to go back to my original Eagle 8 is got to be my favorite character, because he really is. When I made him up, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I dreamed him, and or dreamt, or whatever whatever you're supposed to say. But anyway, I dreamed him up. And when I did, when I started writing about him, I said, man, I want him to be like, this like John Wayne type character. But at the same time, I want him to be like my grandfathers, because both my grandfathers I grew up with, and they were both in World War II. And my papa I was super, super close with, and he was my mom's dad, and my dad's dad. I was close with him too, but not like I was my papa. But my papa was a Marine, and my other grandfather was in the Army, but they both fought the Japanese in the South Pacific. So I got tons of those stories all growing up. And I said, but they were country boys. They were Hicks from Texas, you know, and it's like so weird to listen to them. They're like, yeah, and I was in Hawaii, and then I was in the mountains of Guam, or I was in New Guinea or Borneo or the Philippines, and then I was in Japan, and you're like, dude, they took these guys that had never been out of their fucking county in their life. You know, I mean, half the time they need more shoes their life, you know, and now they're globetrotting, you know, all over the world, fighting in this world war, and they come back and just to listen. I was like, man, I want a character that's like them, that's country as hell, but has been around the block, you know, and I kind of feel like I'm that way. I'm kind of country as hell, but
I was gonna say, well, so like normally when you see people who build worlds like this, so we have like, you know, Tolkien, and we have like Jim Henson is another one who comes to mind, and all of them have like a stand-in for themselves somewhere in their universe, and it's either created like subconsciously, sometimes they do it consciously, like, but like Kermit the Frog was like almost a 1-to-1 for Jim Henson, and like he was like, you know, probably a little bit idealized, but more or less like that was who Jim Henson kind of put all of his like soul into, I guess you would say. Is there any character like that for you in your universe that you think kind of represents you?
A lot of them. A lot. I put myself into a lot of them. The ones I like the most, of course, I put myself into. There's a character called Green Aaron that I made up early on in the Warriors of the Universe part of it, and he looks a lot like Spider-Man, but has a completely different story. And that's because when I grew up, Spider-Man was my favorite comic book. That was my character. I related to Spider-Man very, very well. So I loved reading Spider-Man. So I always wanted to do a character that somehow looked like Spider-Man, but it wasn't just like, oh, that's just a total Spider-Man ripoff. So he's totally different, actually. But my best friend in grade school, all growing up, was named Aaron. So and my favorite color is green. So he is Green Aaron, and he looks very similar to Spider-Man in ways, you know. But his attitude is a lot like mine, probably in my professional, like when I was a policeman or something. Now I've always been a prankster, and I've always liked to cut up, and I've always taken real heavy situations and been able to joke around and stuff like that. But when the shit hits the fan, I'm a good guy. You want that. I'm the guy you want. You know, I'll pull you through. You know, and because I sacrificed myself for other people, and that's you know, I don't know. I can't say. Maybe that's the way my grandparents brought me up or whatever, but that's the way I've been. You know, I've always been like that.
You have the chat blowing up right now with people saying they're throwing out names. I'm assuming they're characters that they think is you. So we got John Crux, the kid with the masks, and Philo.
Yeah, Philo is the kid with the mask. That is now that is me at 10 years old. That I wrote that completely around me at 10 years old. That is. I mean, yeah, that's 100% me. And when I took when I originally drew Philo, I took my son Chisholm, my youngest son, and I had him set on the floor, and I actually drew him just verbatim, you know. So because him and I look a lot alike too. So which, you know, I'm glad, you know.
Lucky kid.
Yeah, they make fun. You know, they make fun of the way I look. You know, they'll be like, "Oh, Dad, you know, do this, do that. You know, you look like this. You wear this. You don't wear that. You know." And I'm like, "Just remember, y'all's time's coming. You know, you get old, you get old, and you start
eventually,
looking. You know, you don't look like
right.
To,
ice cream,
you know?
Eventually starts dripping. You know.
Damn right, man. Damn right. I used to have a good ass. Now it's in the back of my shoe somewhere. You know, it just goes like that. You know.
So, what is the next big step for the Warriors of the Universe thing?
Well,
any exclusives that you want to do just for the Nick Sands Presents podcast?
Well, no. I mean, no. You know, I'll be honest. I get a lot of offers to do stuff. Join in with this. Do this. Usually, it all of it takes away some control I have over the characters, and I can't do that. So I'm real true to what I'm doing. I always say this, that there's a right time to do everything, and don't jump off a ledge when you ain't got it. So there's no hurry. When people go like, man, there's a small, I've had people go, there's just a small window for you to do this. I said, look, man, when I was 10 years old, Master of the Universe came out. Motherfuckers are still buying it. It's at Walmart right now. Okay. So don't tell me there's a small window, because that's 40 years of Master of the Universe, and my stuff, once people know, it's like Master of the Universe for adults. You don't have to dumb yourself down to and I'm not, I don't want to freaking piss on nobody's parade, but if you sit there and pop in a disc of Master Universe, you should punch yourself in the temple a few times to dumb yourself down to watch that shit. So I want something that's more like, I'm serious. I try to watch it with my kids. My kids, when they were little, I bought them the disc set, and they said, "Dad, this is stupid." And I said, "I know. I remembered it being so much better." But I want mine to be like all the fun that's in Master Universe, because you got all this crazy stuff happening, with like, oh, why is that guy got to see, like, they never explain, like, how come that guy's got a ray gun and that guy has to use a damn battle axe? I explain that. There's a reason why my characters are like that, because it's like I told you, the Plevejas allow certain things, certain ways, Why is there a robot running around and these people freaking, got a battle cap? What the hell, But so I wanted to do an adult fantasy, but I wanted the fantasy to encompass all the stuff I love, because everything I write, there's a lot of horror in it. I think life is filled with horror, man. I see it all. I saw it in person for 12 years of law enforcement. And even before law enforcement, after, like, I seen a lot of horror, and I was like, dude, horror is just kind of in everyday life. If you think about it, shit, turn on the news. It's just pure horror. But why would you have like all this stuff happening, and it has to be like some kind of purist fantasy where you don't integrate horror or science fiction or, even love, even romance, even, so basically, in my stories, and really we've gotten 4 books out, and they're very short books, and they're just the primers. They're not even we haven't even touched on anything. And it's going to be like everybody, if you like this kind of stuff, if you like horror and fantasy and sci-fi and action and adventure and all that stuff, well, it's all rolled into one. So it's because it's everything I like all rolled into one, so that's why pigeonhole yourself?
Absolutely. I know, I completely agree. And it is very like, it is reminiscent of like Master of the Universe. Why can't I remember? Why are the cat people? Why is that name slipping?
Thundercats.
I don't know why I was gonna call them. I don't know. I was gonna call them the Cats of Grayskull. So I don't know what's going on right now. But yeah, like Thundercats.
That's a new one, man. You should work on that for your own story. Dude, these are the Cats of Grayskull.
But yeah, no,
I
don't know. I'm gonna talk to my lawyer about that one. I don't know if that's the move.
Oh yeah, you can do it. Trust me. Hey, I know a lot about copyright law.
I'm sure. So you are probably also the only artist who's ever bootlegged their own. So like you not only control the Warriors of the Universe market, you also control the bootleg Warriors of the Universe market. So you're probably the only. Speaking of copyright, you're probably the only artist who's ever bootlegged their own shit.
Well, I used to joke all the time because I grew up from high school years on in South Texas, and we were very close to the border. So I used to go to the San Antonio flea markets, and I would see all the Mexican bootleg toys. I'd buy some. Back then, there would be like Mexican bootleg toys at everywhere. Like every little store, every little junk store, every little convenience store would have them. And of course we would go down to Mexico real frequently to buy stuff. And because they were so cheap, they were like a quarter or 50 cents, and you're like, well, that Captain America looks like shit, but hell, I
might
want
give me
it
lead
anyway,
poisoning, but here 50, we go.
Yeah, for 50 cents, I'm gonna buy it, So I always bought a lot of that stuff, and I did honestly back then. I always thought it was garbage, and then I got older and I said, dude, it's like folk art, It's like a weird, bizarre folk art, and so my joke is you're not famous, or you're not successful until the Mexicans are bootlegging your shit, So that's what I used to say, well, until Kutu gets bootlegged down there. And actually, I have had a couple of guys from Mexico say, "Hey, man, would it burn you up if we did this, or is there some kind of deal we could work?" And I said, "You know what? Just do it. I don't care. I mean, you guys are fucking poor, man. I mean, if you need to bootleg some figures," and I said, just don't do them exactly. Don't steal my sculpts. Do some weird knockoff that looks like crap. And they said, okay. And so there was like this is, a year or two, a couple of years ago. And I said, I don't guess those guys we're going to follow through with that, and one of them wanted to make piñatas and stuff. I was like, sure, yeah, whatever, man, whatever floats your boat. And I didn't care. And
I want a Wars of the Universe piñata. I would pay for that.
I do too, man.
I would buy that.
But I was like, yeah, whatever. So I got to thinking about it. I said, dude, I want to see what like a jacked up looking this would look like, or this. So, I mean, that's the way my brain works. I said, dude, I'm gonna make it myself. I'm gonna bootleg my own toys. And so I actually started an Instagram site with them and never told anybody who I was. And I had so many people message and go, dude, there's this motherfucker on Instagram, dude, and he is bootlegging your shit. He's bootlegging all your, and they started sending me messages and snapshots and all. It was so hilarious. And I couldn't help it. I wanted to keep it like a secret, but I was like, yeah, I can't. I was like, no, man, that's me. It's me doing it.
And they sold, right? I'm assuming.
They sell great. I just sold a bunch of them tonight. Yeah, they sell great. People love them.
And
yeah.
so what kind of mindset are you in? Like, how much effort and energy and time do you put into like the main Wars of the Universe kind of thing, and then how much do you put into, well, not just the bootlegs, but I know you do other stuff too. Like, what are how much time are you putting into the main universe versus like the other stuff?
Okay, yeah, like the WOTU stuff's where all my mind is, because that's where the story's at. Okay, so yeah, it's the Warriors of the Universe where I really push, and what'll happen. It's like when I want some new heads, because basically with the bootleg stuff, I use the same body and I just change out heads. So I sculpt a head in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. If it's real complex, it might take me 30 minutes, or something like that. It's very fast. So I'll be like, man, I really want to do a couple of heads today. So after I finish all my stuff and I'm brain fried, I go in there and I'll be like, man, but I can still sculpt it, but it really helps that I'm bootlegging, because I'm looking at something that already exists. So for me, it's very fast, and it's almost like I'm on auto, like I'll just sculpt out some heads, and usually like at night I'll do 2 or 3 heads, but no, it really doesn't take. And then of course AAA does the painting, so I might paint 1 or 2 a week, and then he paints all the rest. So it works out really good, because it actually doesn't cut into my time. And it stokes me up for just making toys. I'll be honest, I love the hell out of them. I sold some tonight. I was like, man, I want to keep those. I do it every week. I sell them. I'm like, man, I'd love to keep them things, but you got to keep it going.
Have you made anything or do you have anything in your possession now that you're like, you would never sell? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a lot of pieces that some of it I wouldn't sell it because basically like I promised everybody like these are for me and I'll never sell these, you know, and because they're like, hey, you're just making a bunch of shit up, you know. A lot of collectors are like, you know, they're always worried that like you get a rare figure and they scored a rare figure, they paid a lot on the secondhand market for it, and then they think like it's human nature to think that I'm going to be like, okay, like I'm not calling nobody out or nothing. I'm just saying that a lot of people are not underhanded, but they're greedy. You know, they're like, how could anybody resist not to make that money? Well, I can. You know, I can go like, hey, I could make this and backdoor a figure to somebody. And trust me, I've had many people say, hey, backdoor me a figure. I'll give you $1,200. I'll give you $1,500 to backdoor a figure to me. I said, I can't because it messes up the count. You know, there's 6 of those. Well, number one, I'd never do it to start with, but you got to stay true. You got to stay honest or you got nothing. And that's what I said from day one, that if you, cause all these things are numbered, you know. Okay, this figure right here just came out. There's 50 of these, right? So in 5 years, when all 50 of those are out there and they become worth a lot of money, like people are like, oh man, I'll give you $250 for one of those. There's only 50 of them. And somebody comes to me and says, I know you got that mold and you know how to paint them. So why don't you just make me one up and I'll slip you a couple $100, you know? Well, could I do it? Yeah. Would I do it? Never, you know? So that's about it. I tell people this. I tell you, this is a story I've told 100 times. 1999, probably. Okay. Laredo, Texas. I get a call, says Laredo PD needs a backup on the highway. He's got something emergency. So I run over there. I'm expecting somebody being murdered, right? So I got over there. There's a car pulled over. It's a hatchback. The hatch is up. There's $3 million in bricked money sitting in the back of the car, okay, in big duffel bags, okay? It's compressed. They take money, they band it, they compress it real tight, and you can't even lift it up. It's so heavy. So there's 3 bundles. $3 million is in the back of this car. And there's just me. It's middle of the night. There's me and one Laredo policeman. Well, Laredo police makes about half of what a border patrolman makes. And he's like, God, can you believe that? And the guy who's delivering the money, the mule, he's going, hey, I'm dead. Either way it goes, I'm dead. He goes, take the money, let me go. You know, I'm dead. He goes, y'all are going to get the money, but whether it goes to y'all or goes to the PD, I'm dead. He said, take it. I'll never say a word because I've got to disappear. My family, I'm dead. You know, I got to go. And we know that's the way it works. If you're a mule and you're caught and that much money's lost, they kill you. They kill your family. So my mind immediately is like, never. I would like in my mind, I would never even dream. But again, when you're in the presence of $3 million, it's shocking. Like you're like, whoa, holy shit. Oh my God. Like, dude, just a handful of that, you know, is $100,000, you know, that looks pretty good. You know? So this Laredo policeman, he looks at me and he's like, and he tilts his head, and I said, don't even think about it. I said, ain't nothing worth doing. This right here is nothing but bad. You know, I said, just turn it in, you know? And he's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I said, yeah, I'm right. Trust me. I said, one thing, if they catch you, you're going to the pen. Number two, it'd be on your mind for the rest of your life. I said, it'd weigh heavy on your soul.
Well, plus
you know?
Can't really do anything.
Said,
the problem with large sums of, even if you stole $3 million, like really you can pay for your groceries. You can buy like a used car in cash, but like you can't do any, like you can't use it to buy a house or fucking, like you can't.
Well, you could go to Mexico and buy one. You could go to Mexico.
I don't know if fucking taking drug dealer, Mexican drug cartel money and then going to Mexico to buy a house is the smartest move.
Yep. Maybe not a good idea. I don't know.
Maybe go to Guam. Maybe go to Guam instead, or Brazil or something.
But you know, what I tell people all the time, I said, dude, if I could, and that's nothing. I mean, we've confiscated 100,000 here, you know, 150, 200,000 here, you know. And you know, and you're in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes you find it and you're freaking in the middle of, I mean, you're 40 miles from a paved road, you know, and it's like, look, if I was not a lowlife to steal money back then, And why would I ever hurt what I love to make a few $100 or $1,000 even, or $1,200, whatever? I would never do. It would never even cross my mind.
Right. Well, plus, I mean,
so that's
you can tell that, like, not only do you care about, you know, your world and your universe, you care about the people who you've sort of come into this together with, and you know, you wouldn't betray all of your friends for a couple $100.
Very good. Yeah, it's not worth it. But you catch, but a lot of people, you know, they question you, you know, they could like, what about that? Where is that? Are you making another one of those? Well, hell no, I'm not, you know, but that's just part of it. You know, you gotta get people, you know, it's just, and one thing good's about being, I tell people this all the time. I think God I wasn't 30 when I got into all this stuff. Because I'm 49 right now. I said, thank God I wasn't 30, because I was a firebrand, man. I mean, if you would have even like hinted that I would do something irregular, unscrupulous, I would absolutely hit you in the mouth, you know what I mean? Or just go. I mean, I would just be a fire breather, you know. And thank God I wasn't on the internet, you know. I mean, because I would just breathe. I was terrible, you know. Just like I would, you know. I'd like, dude, there's my location. You meet me there in a day, and I'll beat your ass. You know? But you know, I've learned, like, hey man, chill out. People are different, you know. Like they're from all over the world. I mean, you know, now I'm dealing with people from all over the world, all over the U.S. and everybody's got different growing up experiences, and everybody's got different lifestyles and different lives, and it's kind of fun to like savor everybody. Like man, everybody's so different. Well, I mean, AAA, who paints for us, you know, moved him down from he came down here on a bus from Minnesota. You know, I mean, just like literally just got off the bus. Like, what do I do? I don't even know. I mean, it wasn't like something we talked about a lot. We talked about it one time on the phone. I said, yeah, if you come down here, yeah, you can work. This is how much you'll get. You know, I actually asked him how much you need. He said, how much I need. Okay, that's how much you can have, you know, for every week. You know, so we did it on a contract basis, you know, and he just says, okay, well, I'll get a bus. And I was like, well, okay, I'll pick you up. And I thought, surely that guy's not going to just jump on a bus and come down. Some bitch just jumped on a bus and come down here.
I'm here.
That's what it was. That's what it was, man. And you know, picked him up and brought him here, and the rest is history. And he's working on his third year here. You know,
that's pretty cool.
And
I didn't realize all that.
Great.
What's his name? AAA.
Yeah, Aaron Arthur Anderson. You know, that's everybody just calls him AAA. You know. But yeah, he comes from a great family up in Minnesota, and you know, it's not like he's a drifter or ex-con. He wasn't running from nothing, or you know, not
he's just hooked on the Warriors.
If he's a serial killer, he's laid off of me. So I'm not his taste.
He's hooked on WOTU. WOTU.
Yeah. And I mean, he was into it. You know, he was into the whole WOTU thing. That's where I met him. You know, so it's shit, man. It's great.
What is your grand sort of like when you see, like the future, right? You talk about. I know you've talked a little bit about like you want to do movies, you want to do, like you expect for this to continue to grow bigger and bigger. Do you worry about because like at some point, if you're going to get into like Hollywood level movies, right? There's going to be there's some sort of contractual. I'm sure that there's some sort of creative. Have you thought about that, and have you thought about how that might affect where you're willing to go or what you're willing to do?
Well, before the pandemic, and I'm talking right before the pandemic, I worked with a guy. We were working on getting a possible movie deal with Netflix, a possible television show with Netflix, and at one time they were really pushing toward a animated deal on Netflix. Okay, and the guy that was the producer, he had done 15 successful Netflix deals. Basically, they take a creative idea, they get a package going, they wrap it all up in a ball and sell it to Netflix. Okay. So he had done this 15 times, so it wasn't like I was dealing with some guy that was pie in the sky or whatever. And it was getting real serious, okay? Like, hey man, this is looking pretty good. And And then it really, the pandemic, I'd say more than anything, made it fall apart. There was some, but more than anything, it's like basically you got to hand over all your creative control. Like you can say like, hey, they'll be like, oh, don't worry, that character will be in it, and he'll look like that, pretty much, you know. But I mean, but the way they portray him, you know, that's going to be written by somebody else. It's good, and I'm like, you know, yeah, would that make me famous right away? Yes. Would that give me? But what if they make it shitty? See, like that's what it's like. What I couldn't get that out of my head. If they make it one time and shitty, how much can they pay me to ruin my own stuff, my own creations? You can't pay me enough. So that's what. And I said, no, man, I would have to have full creative control. They said, well, they're not going to give you that. And I said, well, then I'm not going to do it. You know, I mean, it's just that simple. You know, like I don't want to be famous. That's not my goal. My goal is to get my characters out there as much as possible, for everybody to enjoy them and learn to love them like I love them. But at the same time, it has to be my characters. Like you can't take Kutu and all of a sudden, you know, he's a cool, nice guy. You know, no, he's a guy that will stab his 2 front teeth and suck your brain out, you know, into your head and suck your brain out, you know, or, you know, he'll conquer a whole land and kill every single man, woman, and child and Bambi. You know, he kills it all. You know, he kills every critter there is. And he's like, you know, yeah, because he's a bad dude. So if you try to make him into somehow like, well, I'm a little bit of a peacenik, but I also will do a little killing on the side. Well, no, you got the wrong character, you know? So that's what worried me. And so I'm really right now, I'm concentrating on just doing what I do and just keep making characters and really probably more emphasis on the comic books right now to get a body of literature to where I can sell like if somebody is interested in doing a movie, I can say like, well, there is the stack of comic books that tells the whole story. That gives a big chunk of story, and you can have visual. And one thing that the Netflix guy told me is a comic book really helps them because they can see the visuals other than just reading a script. Like it's all fleshed out, and it really, really helps. So I said, well, I love that, you know. So that's where I want to focus. And if I don't get the right movie deal, if I don't get the right people on board, I'll do it myself. And I'm not just shitting around. I will absolutely, if I have to, I have a big toy and comic book collection. It's big. It's like not like normal people big. like
I can tell that
crazy,
you have never done anything like a normal person.
Yeah, no, man, I go all out, you know. So, some people go like, how'd you get all that stuff? Well, I said, one time I sold a piece of land and I just bought toys with it, you know? You know, so it's like, it's a big piece of land too, you know? So I was like, yeah. So, yeah. But if it takes selling every single toy I have, like my whole collection, including my comic books. Now, granted, there's always those certain things I'd never sell, but whatever it takes to get to that point that I'm cool with. But I also look at like, is it time yet? And I was like, there's no hurry. There's and I know people that collect, they're in a hurry. They're like, come on, man, let's go. Let's get this shit going. I want to see a movie. And it's like, well, I do too, but not at the expense of my work, you know? And people just don't understand. I don't think they understand how much this means to me. Like it's like I mean, compartmentalized life, you know. You got your family, which is always going to be boom up there. Then you got your rest of your life, and boom, my creations are everything, you know.
I mean, I think that what you're saying makes like the most sense. Like an excellent example is Game of Thrones. They went into the Game of Thrones TV show. I mean, I had read the Game of Thrones books. I loved the books. I really enjoyed them. Up until the last one, which you could tell was rushed, I felt. Or the last two were rushed, and something was different about them, and I'm not exactly sure what, but then the show, they took the creative control, they gave it to someone else. You know, the guy who invented it fucked off, and he started like a toy museum, and he was like opening fucking movie theaters and shit. He was like, he didn't give a fuck. And then you know, when they got, as soon as they veered away from the literature, it fucking tanked and it turned into a giant piece of shit. You know? So
Yeah.
like, I think you're very smart to hold on to your IP for as long as possible. You know, I think it only makes sense that the person who is gonna do the best with it is gonna be the person who cares about it and loves it and came up with it. And also, media today is so accessible. I mean, you can go on Fiverr and you can fucking hire unbelievable artists and fucking animators and filmmakers and from all over the world for dirt money. You know? Like unbelievable. You know, you can get you know, I've seen them as low as $25 a page for a comic book, you know? And then like
Yeah.
it's fucking
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's like art today is so accessible that I have no doubt that you'll be able to put out a top level whatever you decide to do because you're smart. You seem as though you're smart enough to know the things you can't do, right? But also you're stubborn enough to fucking try them anyways. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I have like criteria for everything, like my toys. Like everything is handmade. Like and granted, don't get me wrong. There's a guy just not far from here, and he's actually come and visit us, and he says, "I can take that toy and I can do a 3-dimensional scan of that, and I can take out any flaw, and make them all, you know, like perfect looking, like smoothed out, like a toy you get in a store." And I said, "Well, fuck no. Why would I want that?" And he's like, "Oh, I thought you'd want that." Like, and I said, "No, man. I mean, I want my sculpture. I want shit. My fingerprints are on some of those pieces. You can see, like, as you dry brush, like, oh, I forgot a fingerprint in there. You know, I think that's cool. Like, man, dude, that's got." You know, I'm the creator, but it's like, you know, when I'm dead and people are collecting these, they'll be like, "Dude, that's old Chance's fingerprint right there, man. Look at that, dude. That's pretty cool." You know, I know if as a collector, I would think that's cool. You know, I mean, I collect old sofubi, so from Japan, and some of the early stuff, you know, where it's all hand sculpted, especially like I mean, from the 70s all the way up to the 90s, you know, when they still hand sculpted everything, you can see their fingerprints in it, and you're like, "Dude, that's so cool, man. I love that," you know. But yeah, and just like our art, any art we use, like no computers allowed, like nothing. Like you have to hand do it. You have to, like our artists that work on the cards, it has to be hand done, hand drawn, hand colored, hand inked. You know, and this whole AI shit has really got me like, you know, again, if somebody puts out something to AI and goes, "Hey, check this out," you know, it's like, "Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, that looks neat." You know, I can look at it and say, "That looks neat." What pisses me off, say, "Look at this AI art I did." No, you did not. No, you didn't touch that. A computer touched that. And you can say all you want to a computer, but it's taking images off the computer that are not yours. And I don't care if it's a conglomeration, amalgamation of all that crap. It's crap, and it's still spit out, and it's not art. And I will fight that. You know, like I watched an AI deal. This was great. AI expert from Japan gave an interview, and he said in 15 years or less, and he says 15 years because he's maxing, 40% of all jobs worldwide will no longer be available to human beings. That humans are doing now, 40% will not be there in 15 years or less. And he said that is me being actually polite, saying that some of these companies will keep humans on longer than they're needed. He said, like right now, every McDonald's is set. McDonald's already has it set up. They do not need human beings at all. They have AI McDonald's in Japan already with no human beings. And he said that they run more efficiently. They're cheaper to run and everything. You don't have to worry about anything with the human beings. And the only reason they don't do it all because they don't want to have to fire everybody and catch all the heat from being the bad guys getting rid of humans. I said, well, that won't take big business long to get rid of everybody. So I say to combat that, you got to get you got to stick with like, hey, let's let's be uber traditional. Let's go everything by hand, and you're gonna, no matter what, it's humans, man. You're gonna have a bunch of people that are like, yes, I want it human made. I want it, and then you're gonna have the masses that are gonna be like, I don't care, hey, I'm good as any, I don't give a shit, and fine, because we got that right now with toys and everything else that are. I mean, look at modern comic books, man. I mean, you go through a modern comic book rack, and dude, you better have a barf bag. You're gonna barf all over it because it looks like
I bought
shit.
my first comic book in a very long time, a few months ago, and I remember I just read it. I read it and I was like, I know that obviously like they're cereal, so like you need to kind of see but it was, I felt like it was over so fast. I was like, I just paid $5 fucking for that. I feel like I got like 30 seconds of reading it. It's like, well, it's like too consumable almost. It's like,
I'm not saying that all of them are bad. There are some good books being put out right now, but they're mainly
this was a Marvel. I don't even remember what it was.
Marvel is and DC. They're like right now. It's like garbage city. I can't stomach. And there's a handful of artists, yeah. And unfortunately, though, a lot of them do some really good art. And maybe they start out with a pencil, but they feed it into a computer, and by the time it's all whipped out and that digital coloring that sucks is put on there, you're like, God, what is? It's like the most bland shit in the world. What happened to my good old, like awesome looking, man? Let's go back to Todd McFarlane, back in the day, or let's go back to Jack Kirby, or let's go to these guys that killed it with a pencil and a pen, and that's why I say that it's the independent guys who are still doing it by hand that I absolutely love, and that's the way I'm trying to do everything. Like I wish I didn't like having these card backs made. That painting, David does these paintings all by hand. 100%. Hell, I own most of them. Like I end up trading them for the actual painting. So this painting right here is all by hand. And I have to send it to a company who, of course, feeds it into a damn computer and then spits it out in the print shop. But I mean, hell, I wish I could go back and say, man, where's the old crank? Let's put it on one of them old presses like from the 1800s and crank that shit out. I would be all for that. I'd like to everything be just by hand.
Is that David Christopher?
Yeah,
he's in the chat. He just said that's why I only use pen and paint and pencils.
Yeah, he's the man, dude. He's my favorite artist. I mean, besides
Baby
myself.
WOTU has never heard that. Right? Baby WOTU has never heard of David Christopher.
Oh yeah, no, never.
So how many people? Because so you gave permission to the two Mexican fellas to do bootlegs, but other than that, how many people?
And they never did. So I don't.
How many people have like the official fucking brand to create something WOTU, right? So like David Christopher, you got this AAA, and yourself. Is there anyone else that has like the official go ahead?
Well, AAA is like an extension of me. I mean, he's here. My office is here. 2 doors down is his office. So that's not really. I mean, he rides for the brand. That's what I go back to Old West. Everything I do is Old West style. When you ride for the brand, you.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. So like you have him, and then you said David Christopher does all your paintings,
and then David, and I mean Jeff Bartran does the comic books. And if they want to do something WOTU inspired or something, or like paint somebody. Do what commissions, for people. I've already told them, I don't care. Okay. Like the only thing that would if somebody wanted to get on my bad side and have me like rail on them and say, hey, quit doing that. Okay. If you painted one of my characters, with a dick or something, or something dirty, having sex or something, something like do a Tijuana Bible from the WOTU universe, you know, I'd be pissed off, you know, because that's not me, you know. That's like we can joke about that, you know, and we can make fun because I'm dirty, filthy mouthed, you know, but not in print. you know, not for real, you know.
I guess my question was more just like how many people are working on like putting out one, like how many hands touch those packages that go out?
Yeah, it's just this is all I sculpted the figure, I invented the figure, AAA painted the figure, and it's crazy that we'll put out hundreds of these and AAA will paint every single one.
Crazy.
Hand paint. Yeah, he's insane. David did the artwork, and David did the setup for the back. These little pieces of art here I drew, and he put on there. And then David did all the setup, whatever they call that, the setup. I don't know. I just call it setup. And then like the cuboid inside, sometimes we'll have guest artists do the cuboids. A AAA, and I actually drew all these. David's going to draw some.
What's a cuboid? What's a cuboid?
It's a golden cuboid. It's a little square. There's one. It's a little square that comes in every single deal. And on the back it's blank, but we will like sketch a picture. A lot of times we put like WOTU rules or my oldest son, my middle son Wrangler was doing it for us for a long time. He would do like the bulk of the cuboids, and he would do like little sayings and stuff like that. But we're kind of going into like we want them to be all of them to be sketch cards. So we're trying to sketch them all, and you know, I'm not the most efficient artist, and I'm not like everything I do looks like a kid did it, but you know, so I do mine. AAA's does his. Of course, David's look like a freaking masterpiece. Makes you want to just like oh God, I'm terrible, you know. And then now we had a bunch of artists do them last time, and they're usually people in the group because a lot of the people that collect these are artists. So I guess artists gravitate toward good art, you know, but no, but anyway, and then also on the back it can be like a prize, like you can get something for free. We have a chase figure that's just for the cuboids, where you have to send in money to get it because they cost a lot to make, but you send in a certain amount of money and you'll get that chase cuboid. But usually after you get it, you have something. You might have to send in $100 to get it, but after you get it, most of the time you have something worth, you know, $300 or $400 or $500 or more, you know, so it's a good deal. Yeah, they're just fun, you know. It's like a lottery ticket inside of the damn package.
That's interesting. It's just one more level, one more kind of layer to that interactivity that people were talking about before, the interactive toy line.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Facebook group. People are on there every day posting pictures, talking about the toys and talking about what's next, you know. And I make something new almost every week, and people will be like, well, God, man, come on, man, make some more shit, you know, hurry up. And you're like, oh my God, you know, I'm going, I mean, I'm balls out right now, you know, so I'm trying, but everything takes, like in my mind, everything takes 1,000 times longer than it should. I want to have a new wave of figures ready to go tomorrow, and it just don't work that way. Getting the artwork in, getting it set up, getting it to the printing company, and the printing company going like, you know, oh, this is gonna take 10 days, and then 2 months later you're like, where is it?
Why do printing companies always do that shit? Printing companies are fucking worst.
Dude, it is crazy. It's like, is it that hard to have a computer guy? We've already got it set up. We're just transferring the files to them, and then all they got to do is set it up on their machine and push go. You know, and it's like, how can you not, like, that stack of cards cost me $2,000. Okay, just picked them up like a week or two ago. $2,000, and it's like, I'm sorry, if somebody placed an order with me for $2,000 to push a button on a big old printing machine, by God, I'd be hitting them buttons all day. And hell, you know, for $2,000, I'll drive them and meet you. You know, I'll deliver the son of bitches. You know. But it's hard to get places that can print card backs on that cardstock, double sided, that don't go like, oh, they're 20. I mean, we've went to so many places that, yeah, they're 15 a piece, they're 20 a piece, and you're like, oh, and then you finally find a place that basically gets you there $5 or under. So you're like, okay, I'm sticking with that, you know.
And then so when you get the card back, do you must place the character, the cuboid, and then the clamshell?
We take the plastic bubble, the figure goes in the bubble. See that pillow? It's like a piece
Every
of foam.
time you go down, you come up with a different figure.
Yeah, we take the pillow so when the figure is being shipped or whatever, he just don't have nowhere to go, so it doesn't. We don't have to take a chance on rubbing paint or breaking nothing, and then we have to glue that down, everything by hand, you know. And it's a. Now, granted, I'm not kidding. We get good at it. Like my daughter, she's 15, and she was in there today, and I thought, she did up 5 cases. When I walked out, I walked back in, 5 cases were done. I was like, okay, she's rolling, you know. So, but you know, it's getting the touch with the glue, and she's not perfect, so I see some glue residue like right there. But yeah, you know, it's just like. You know, it's all of us around here have been a finely tuned machine. And like I say, my middle son and my youngest son, they're grown men. They got their own businesses, and they kind of had to tell me this year, you know, like, hey, we're out of the toy business until you can pay us like $1 million a year. We're out of the toy business. So I was like, oh shit, you know. Now don't get me wrong. If we hit a snag and I needed their help, they'd come and help me in a heartbeat. That's because we're tight family like that. But at the same time, you know, I remember when I was young and I wanted to go off. I mean, my God, I wanted to join the fucking French Foreign Legion. I wanted to hunt grizzly bears. And I'm not joking. Like I was dead serious. I'm headed that way, you know. And my dad would like literally stop me in any way, shape, or form he could. You know, he's like, you know, no, you go. Of course, he wasn't like, I care about you. You need to stay here. He'd be like, you need to work for me longer. I need you. You know, you letting the family down. You start, bitch. You know, and I'm okay. You know, but you know, I finally bolted at about 20 years. I was right, just turned 20. And I said, I'm taking off, and damned if I didn't take off and go work for him, being a cowboy. I went to work as a cowboy, and I was like, you know, so I always told my kids, I said, whatever y'all want to do, as long as it's not, you know, I mean, don't tell me you want to be a damn stripper or something like that. But if you want to do something, you know, that's healthy, I'm all for it. And money don't mean nothing. Do what you want to do. You know, so I've always encouraged him. You know, one of them was going to go be a special forces soldier, and he was a big football star in high school. And then he for whatever reason, you know, like a lot like me, you know, I mean, I was all over the place too. But you know, he didn't, and he got into something else. Now he's just you know, making a ton of money and happy as a lark. And I was like, yeah, just whatever, you know, whatever you want to do what you want to do. That's what I've always told him. You know, just. Don't do it for money, though. God dang, I've done enough stuff in my life for money that I regret. You know, not real regret, because I learned, you know, along the way. But man, I'm like, I wish I would have just all principles. Even if I was living under a bridge, I'd rather just be all principles my life. Now, Carrie, I probably wouldn't have liked living under the bridge, but you know,
Are there any characters that you've made or any parts of the world that you look back on now that are kind of like cemented in the like canon that you look back and you're like, oh man, I wish I could have changed that, but it's too late?
I worry about that all the time. Like, am I gonna write? Like, a lot of times we'll be talking about like the comic book artist Jeff Bartran. I'll be talking to him about this or that, and I'll be like, I don't want to go down that road yet because I want to leave that open. And some people have even told me like, well, the background of that character is a little vague. I said, well, it's vague for a reason, because I want to leave him some history to have open, you know, where I if the time comes, but no, we're not far enough down the road where I can't bend or change things. I had a character I put out called Shroomus, and Shroomus, I think even on the back of the package it says Shroomus can't talk, like he communicates telepathically, but then like I have so much going on, I forgot my own character, and I was writing the comic book, and I gave him this weird language he speaks, where he's like, he has this weird, like a crazy lisp, and then, the comic book got printed, and then somebody asked me on a live one time, they're like, "Hey man, I thought Shroomus couldn't talk." It says on the back of the package, and I was like, "Yeah, well, that was a legend. That was some bullshit. That's some bullshit somebody made up." But he can talk. So you got, I mean, you do run into that because you can't. And I had characters that I made up, and to me, they were solid. That's the way they're going to be. But later on, as I worked on them more, I was like, dude, wouldn't it be cool if he was like this, or we changed this about him? And I was like, well, that can be done because nobody knows, nothing's in concrete yet. Like everything's an illusion. It's like, how like when you meet somebody and sometimes you're like, hey man, that guy's so fucking cool. Like he's a good dude, he's a good friend. And the next thing you know, you run around a little bit together and you become pretty good friends. Or nowadays it'd be, I'm texting and, we talk all the time. We're good friends. And then something pops up and you find the guy's a damn freak, a fruitcake. You're like, what in the world? This guy's a nut job, man. And you're like, I got to get rid of this guy, Well, I was like, see, you don't always know who you're reading about. You don't always know that character, because I've had it happen so much to me in my life in crazy ways. like, oh my God, So, yeah. And you always think back and you go, dude, I knew something was off about that guy.
Yep.
Something wasn't
There's
right,
always trust your gut. Always trust your gut.
Now, yeah, dude, every piece of the puzzle fits together now that I know this, but and I've always been that way. I've always went with my gut. I was like, man, I'm strictly a gut guy. But as I got into all this stuff, I got more like, man, I need to be more open-minded because people are different, Like, people have their ways, and it might not be my way, but it don't mean it's bad, So I got to be more accepting. I always would tell myself. And so sometimes I accepted some people sometimes, and I was like, man, okay, yeah. And my gut told me different, but I was like, I did it anyway. And then, well, look, I should have stuck with the gut.
There's a difference between being accepting of other people's differences, and there's just some people out there that are fucking weird or crazy. And
Yep.
those people.
I mean, I did watch you do a tuna review earlier today. Okay,
there's more coming, baby. There's more coming. So get ready. There is a surprising amount of flavors of fucking tunas.
I was like, I don't know much about this guy. And Carrie said, hey, look at this deal. He reviews tuna. And I looked at it, and you said, well, it kind of smells like cat food, but I look like a guy who would eat cat food. And I said, I like this guy. That's all I needed. I said I like that guy.
I tried. So I'm not a very deadpan kind of person. I tried to do that whole video deadpan. I don't know if the joke came across or not.
I sat in here I laughed my ass off. I thought it was really funny.
What is it like? Is it weird for you? Because you kind of said at first you didn't really do the internet thing. You weren't. What was your original plan for selling these? Or getting word out about it?
Yeah, well, I knew because of course I have kids, And what's funny is all my boys, I never let them have a phone or internet access or anything until they were like 10, 11, 12, something like that. They were older, they weren't. But once they got on, their kid, they were the masters of the universe on the damn internet. So they would tell me, hey, when you're ready, you got to get on Facebook and Instagram, and you got to start doing all this stuff when you're ready. And I kept going, I'm not ready. I don't want nothing to do with that. computer. Well, and I'll be honest, I arrested some pretty high profile people, drug cartel type people, and there was a little bit of apprehension in the back of my head. I was like, dude, I'd hate to be on here and some freaking murderous bastard that I sent to the pen is out of the pen and goes like, oh, so that's where that piece of shit's at. I'm going to find him and kill him, So I was thinking, man, a little worried. Then after a while, I was like, okay, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've had anything to do with that.
Dude, what if they saw you and they were like, that motherfucker created the coolest goddamn sci-fi world I've ever seen.
High five, baby. Let's go.
He's like, give me a kutu.
Send some of that drug money. I'm gonna send you a case of figures.
So, Chance, I appreciate you so much for coming on tonight, talking with me.
Absolutely.
I had a blast. I have one more challenge for you to fucking complete right now. So,
okay.
as many people know, you were a big fan of the Masters of the Universe at one time in your life. I don't know if you would still consider yourself a fan of Masters of the Universe, but
yeah. Oh no, I love the toys and I love the Earl Norham artwork and that stuff like that. I just don't like the cartoon. I hate it. Hate it.
Did you like the cartoon when you were a kid, or did you just like the toys?
You know what? When I was a kid, I thought the cartoon was stupid, but I loved seeing the figure you played with. I liked seeing it in action. So yes, I watched it and I watched She-Ra too. But I always gravitated toward the bad guys. And it's like, dude, Beastman was one of my favorite toys. They made him an idiot. Merman, they made him an idiot. Skeletor was an idiot. Hordak was an idiot. So it's like, dude, you take all my favorite guys and Trapjaw was one of my favorite guys. He was the biggest numbnuts of the whole bunch. And I was like, man, you're killing me. This is not the way they act. I was like, this TV is not telling me the truth. This is not the way they act. So I had my own way of my guys played like it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Conan the Barbarian style. They were rough.
Absolutely. I had a shitload of action figures when I was a kid. I had fucking millions of those stupid things. And I can remember, one of the cool things that I actually really think is neat about what you're doing is, like, when you're a kid, you have, like, your Army Man, and then you have, like, your Star Wars figure and a fucking Ninja Turtle, and, like, they're all fighting, you know what I mean? And then fucking out of nowhere with a steel chair, here comes Princess Peach, and, like, that's kind of the same vibe you get from what you're doing. You were talking about that a little bit earlier, but that's exactly the kind of vibe you get. It's like this culmination of all these great things that you love to see. But anyways, to see how your memory serves you, we're gonna ask you some questions about the Masters of the Universe, and we're gonna see how you do. And if you win, you will get nothing. But if you lose, you will also get nothing.
Man, this is tough.
I think I have a shirt with my name on it around here somewhere. If you want, I'll send it to you.
Holy shit. Only if it's got like either cat food eater or tuna tester underneath.
I ran for town council last year, so I have like a bunch of elect Nick Sands for town council t-shirts. I wear them all the time too. Fucking actually, Matt, you know Matt Knapp?
Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
so he's the one who introduced me to you. And the other day I saw him and I wore my shirt that had my name on it, and he was like, holy shit, like, who the fuck wears a shirt with their own name on it? That's like, no, that's fair, but like, I spent all this fucking money on them, I gotta wear them,
Yeah, that's part of it, yeah. I've been there.
Alright, so question number 1. Which 3 of Prince Adam's allies know his secret identity? This is a multiple choice.
Oh.
Tila, Strato, and Fisto, which is the most hilarious name of any character in any TV show ever. The Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. King Randor, Cyclone, and Mossman, Ram Man, Queen Marlena, and Buzz-Off.
The second one that has Sorceress.
Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko.
Yeah.
You are correct. Chance Priest. You fucking... Right before this...
I knew the Sorceress knew, so yeah, that was an easy one.
Oh, damn it. All right. So. Well, maybe I shouldn't have made it multiple choice. All right. Question number 2. What was the name of the first episode of He-Man?
That's not multiple choice?
That one's not multiple choice.
No. I have the power. I don't know. I have
That's
no idea.
a good guess, but it was actually called the Diamond Ray of Disappearance.
Yeah, I'd have never got that in a million years. Million years. No.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to see. They don't give any kind of breakdown of what the episode was about, but the name was the Diamond Ray of Disappearance. Which one of these? Question number 3. So you're 1 for 1 right now. Which one of these heroic warriors never appeared on He-Man Masters of the Universe? Actually, I didn't realize you didn't like the show, so all these questions are about the show. So, Man-E-Faces, Clamp Champ, Fisto, again, the most ridiculous name of any character ever, and
I love Fisto.
I don't even know who it is, but the name Fisto is unreal. It's unbelievable that made it onto TV.
I don't think Clamp Champ was ever on there. I don't think Clamp Champ.
Do you want to hear the last one before you solidify that as your answer?
No, I just solidify it. I just say Clamp Champ.
A man of confidence, and that confidence pays off with his second answer, his second correct answer. You're fucking good. You came into this in the beginning. You were like, "Oh, I don't really like the TV show. I don't really know if I'm gonna know these answers." And you were a ringer. You fucking.
Well, I've got to remember it if I don't like it, right? Like you can't.
You're just trying to get my shirt. You're just trying to get a hold of that sweet Nick Sand shirt. What planet is Queen Marlena from?
I don't know. Blue balls? No, I don't know. I don't know.
Queen Marlena was actually from Earth. She started off as an astronaut pilot whose ship was thrown off course and landed on Eternia.
You know, to be honest with you, I don't remember Queen Marlena at all. Like, I have no recollection of her, or even her name.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
I'm going to be honest, I never super watched the He-Man. I had a lot of the toys. My brother was super into those. And G.I. Joe's, he had like every one. And so I recognize a lot of the like pictures when I see them, and I played with a lot of the characters, but I don't really know a lot about the characters themselves other than He-Man and Battle Cat, pretty much. I was more into Thundercats. I liked Thundercats.
Yeah. I like Thundercats. I thought it was about as goofy as
I mean, I haven't watched them since I was like 7, so...
I always liked Lino, man. I mean, I have a big Lino collection. I love Lino. Like that, I think that is a really good heroic character. I like
great
him
design, absolutely. I have
yes.
There was a TV show I used to watch in the '90s, and it was like the Knights of the Round Table, and that almost feels like a bootleg Master of the Universe. It was like all the Knights of the Round Table, and then they all had like a power that they could use. It was very looking back, it was very dumb. But the 90s had some great cartoons. You had like Mummies Alive. You had Max, Mighty Max was one of my faves. And
Mighty Max, I like the horror aspect of Mighty
What do you like? Oh, the horror, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of what the hell was the other one? With the cats that flew in the jet. That was one of my favorites. SWAT Cats. Fucking love that show. Mm-hmm. All right. Last question. I think you're 3 for. So we'll do 2 more. I think we'll do 2 more questions. Which evil warrior captured Teela in the episode Teela's Quest? Triclops?
Oh.
Triclops? Beastman, Merman, or Evil Lyn?
Triclops.
It unfortunately was Merman who grabbed her.
Merman was the first Master Universe figure I
Oh,
ever
really?
had.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brand new. I think we bought him at Walmart. But yeah, Merman. He's Walmart or Eckerd Drugs, but but Merman was the first guy.
What
ever
drew
got.
you to Merman?
I think I've always loved green, so I loved the whole alien monster. I mean, if I'm going to go and buy a toy, I'm not buying the blonde dude with a bowl haircut. I'm buying freaking a monster, and I'm sure they had Skeletor there, but I'd probably be like, well, he's kind of like a yellow skeleton guy, and that's not all that cool. But I was like, oh, look at that green dude, and then the sword that looked like a corn on the cob type thing, I was like, okay, that is cool. I gotta have that. I loved him, and I remember going back, and I think Skeletor was actually my next figure, and then I got because I love space stuff. Zodak, the space guy. I was the next one. Yeah.
So you collected all the bad guys. You got all the bad guys first.
Oh yeah. Well, everything I ever bought, like G.I. Joe, I wanted all the Cobra first. Like I went after all the Cobra stuff. Yeah, well, always. First Transformer I ever had was Megatron.
Well, one of the lame things I've always found about like a lot of sci-fi things is like the bad guys are always like the super cool aliens with all the powers. They always look the coolest, and then the good guys are just like, a dude in a loincloth with a bowl cut, like you said. Or like Luke Skywalker, who's probably like the lamest looking hero of all time.
Yeah, so intro Warriors of the Universe, where a lot of the good guys, most of the good guys are crazy looking, wild ass looking aliens that look evil, but they're good, So that's, my God, I worked with some cops that were so fucking ugly you couldn't hardly sit in the same car with them, but they were good dudes, They
what
were
a
heroes,
fucking saying that is, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's a fact, like, hey man, this dude, you'd look over there and go like, God, he's ugly. And you're like, hey man, we going up to this, let me do
Gary,
this call.
stop doing that. Stop fucking doing that.
You're gonna freak. You're gonna freak out.
There's kids in the fucking street right now.
Yeah,
ugly motherfucker. All right.
Yeah.
And with that as our fucking guide, as our lead-in, this is the final question. This is a big one. Are you ready? I think you're 2-2 right now.
I feel like I'm down. Yeah.
What? No, I think you're even. I think you're 2-2.
Okay. Well, that's down to me.
Okay. Just gives you a reason to hustle. Just gives you a reason to hustle.
Yeah, man, you gotta push.
What color is Evil Lyn's hair?
Blue.
Do you want to revise that answer at all?
I don't know. Is it blue up there? I don't. Or down there? Whatever. I don't know.
It is white. It is white.
Yeah, totally didn't know that. Yeah, I see her with that blue headdress on, So
anyway, unfortunately,
if you're gonna go down in flames,
You did lose. So I'm sorry to hear that, but so you did not win the Nick Sands shirt. It's you're missing out. Trust me, but
I feel cheated. Yeah,
we'll have to bring you back next time. We'll have to bring you back another time to see if you can win it. Where can people find you, and where can people find the Warriors of the Universe?
Victory Comics LLC, which is everything's under that Victory Comics LLC banner. So you can do that on Instagram, and you can go there on Facebook. Also, the Facebook group Warriors of the Universe. So that's the most active of all.
There are a bunch of animals too.
Then,
I'm in that group. I don't ever engage, but there are a bunch of animals in that group.
Oh, it's so much fun, man. Everybody's bashing everybody all the time. But it's all good spirited. Unlike so many other groups, you don't have a lot of that hatefulness towards stuff. Like you just see people like they start like hating on the toy somebody's post. Next thing you know, they're hating on the person, and they're like, dude, this is insane what you do. We're just talking, and it's okay to have an opinion that's not the other person's opinion. You can have, and you don't have to hate them for not having your same opinion.
No, you guys are actually great over there. I love the dialogue that's going on over there.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Do you have like just a website?
Oh yeah, WOTU.toys.
Okay.
So WOTU.toys will let you see like the hundreds and hundreds of different figures that I've made, and then it'll also lead you into I think you can hit store and it takes you to a shop. It's funny you don't go through your own shop stuff, but I think you hit store and then it takes you to where we have some stuff for sale, and we're always trying to my dream is to have like a whole bunch of stuff in the store where you can walk in there, you can go in there and there's 30 or 40 different items, but we're usually sold out or don't have it made, or you can't make enough, so that's kind of the problem.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate you for coming on, and
no problem.
I will see you online.
Okay, man.
Thank you.
Thanks. Victory.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much.